What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Micah Pellerin, nickname Musa. Welcome to the Something Like the Offseason podcast. I can't wait to share. I'm serious. This is honestly one of my favorite episodes so far. None other than my former teammate with Indy when I got a cup of water, Vick Ballard. Vick Ballard, you've probably heard the name before, started in the NFL as a rookie, led the SEC in touchdowns as a junior at Mississippi State. An amazing story. An amazing story. We talk about how he went from SEC leader of rushing touchdowns, right, to engineer at Lockheed Martin. You heard that correct. You heard that correct. We're talking about range here. Vick's story is a true testament to perseverance, how he navigated a couple of injuries and ultimately season-ending, career-ending injuries. Moreover, to propel him into academia, getting his not only his undergraduate but pursue his master's in not only engineering but also an MBA. We're speaking to Vick. I think I came away with how amazing it is for someone to really chart their own path. I know people say that all the time, but when you hear the story, you really recognize that this brother had a lot of options, and he probably decided to do something that no one would have expected. A simply amazing individual. That's the only way I can. I don't want to bury the lead. You guys have to hear this one. You know what to do. Like, follow, subscribe. In the show notes, you can find how to continue to follow Something Like the Offseason podcast. Really excited for you all to hear this one. Have a good day. God bless. All right, here we go. First question. What was the moment in high school you knew you were destined for college? The moment in college you knew you were destined for the L?
I would say that I never really knew that I was destined for the next level whenever I was in high school or college because I was just out there having fun. And there were moments when I would say that let me know that I had the opportunity to go to the next level. For example, in high school, really wasn't a starter. So until my senior year, the thought of going to the next level never crossed my mind until college recruiters started reaching out to me, and actually got the opportunity to earn a scholarship from the University of Houston. But that situation didn't work out because that year Art Browse had got fired and Kevin Sumlin's staff came in and didn't honor my scholarship. So that left me, kind of in no man's land. And
Right.
that following January, this back in the day when they did signing day in February, that January I got an official visit to the University of Arkansas, but they
Right.
never gave me a scholarship. So signing day, I ended up signing with my junior college, and later on that day, Jackson State gave me a call and said that they had me a full scholarship. But at that time, at that point, I'm like, man, I want to go somewhere like Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly.
Houston. I decided to go to JUCO and ultimately ended up at Mississippi State. And once I got to Mississippi State, I never thought about going to the next level until a woman asked me, was I thinking about declaring for the draft after my junior season? And I was like, man, I'm actually good enough to go to the NFL. And she the one that kind of planted the seed in my brain, and I never stopped thinking about it. I didn't stop thinking about it until that I got that phone call on draft day. So I never really had my eyes on the next level until somebody else brought it to my attention. To be honest.
All right, but you led the SEC in touchdowns, and you weren't thinking you were 100% going to the league.
Yeah, because as I mentioned back in high school, I was pretty decent, but I was what they call a late bloomer. So I was one of the top 37 players in the state, and despite that, making all state, making all conference, all region
Right.
rather, I still wasn't. Nobody was knocking on my door like that. So even in JUCO, I didn't mention JUCO. So in junior college, I was like the number one running back in the country. Like, bro, like I had 1,000 yards within like the first 5 or 6 games. Bro, I ended up ending the season with like 1,700 yards and like 22 touchdowns. And that's a 12-game season. That's a 12-game season. Yeah, like I had multiple games over 200, like four games over 200 yards a game, killing it, bro. And didn't have scholarships like that. I had guys on my team that had all kind of scholarships. Alabama, Ole Miss. We had Jimbo Fisher come to our facility to see one of my teammates. And like I said, despite all of these high profile schools and recruiters coming through, I never really got the opportunity to. I didn't earn a lot of scholarships or a lot of notoriety. I had one scholarship from University of Troy, pretty much the whole time. And I by chance happening, I met a coach, an offensive coordinator at my high school. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
started talking to Mississippi State because he was there recruiting another guy named Sanquez Ghostum that ultimately ended up signing with Ole Miss. But while all of us were there, my head coach introduced me to the offensive coordinator, and that's how they started recruiting me. And they came and saw me play, probably like 2 weeks later, and they gave me a scholarship. And I ain't waste no time. I went ahead and committed. I went ahead and committed because I was thinking about what happened to me in high school. I'm like, look, they took that scholarship away from me one time. I ain't gonna let them do it again.
Okay. So you committed before you had the meeting with the coach. You committed when you landed.
Man, like I said, they came and saw me play. And you saying like before official visit?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, they offered me. They offered me, and I told my dad. My dad was like, "What you think?" I was like, "I'm about to go ahead and pull the trigger." That next day, I called him back. I said, "Look, I'm on board, coach." Look, and they wasn't even good. I just felt like it was a good situation. That season, I
Right.
think that season they finished like 5-7, but I was looking
Mm-hmm.
at they got a running back vacancy because their star running back was leaving for the NFL that year. I was like, "Oh, this is perfect."
Mm-hmm.
I'm going into an open spot. Everything worked out, man.
That's funny. Okay. Next question, number 2. Who was your biggest competition that you played against that you were like, man, this brother is elite?
I think in my eyes he was elite. This is when I was in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a guy that goes by the name Brandon Spice. You probably heard of him.
Yeah.
Played for the Patriots and the Bills, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching him on film all week and just saw how he was killing the guards. Like they
Yeah.
would send him and he would crush these guards.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, if they send him and I gotta block him, like what is he gonna do to me? So, and typically, I want to say he played Mike. I want to say he
Yep. He
played
played the
Mike,
mic.
but they figured out our scheme and they started putting him at will because they saw that
Get him uncovered.
in our blocking scheme. No, in our blocking scheme, a lot of times the running back had the will linebacker, so they knew it was a mismatch. In terms of blocking, I couldn't do anything with him, bro. So they just kept they started sending him almost every passing play, and I couldn't do nothing with him. I tried my best. I didn't give up a sack, but I was out there on the rope, man. He had me. He definitely pushed me to my limits, but I mean, ultimately we still got our tail kicked that game, but
Mm-hmm.
he definitely gave me a run for my money.
Brandon Sykes. Okay. Question number 3. Who's a player that you played with or played against that you felt like, man, just for whatever reason, never got his shine, never got the opportunity to fully, express his talent?
I would go with a guy named Jericho Nelson
Mm-hmm.
from
From the
Destrehan.
boot.
Played at Destrehan.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, me and him was on the same recruiting trip to University of Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the time they was recruiting him as a running back, and I want to say he already had a scholarship in the moment. So ultimately, he got moved to safety, like a safety linebacker type position. So, but whenever we played him, eventually, when I got to Mississippi State, he was all over the field, man.
Mm-hmm.
There was an instance where I had the opportunity to win us the game. It was either the first or second overtime. I can't remember, against Arkansas. This back in the day when
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas was that deal. Like, when Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
like when SEC West was running running all of college football. So,
Mm-hmm.
we had him on the ropes, and I was going in for a touchdown, and it was a stumbling touchdown. I had broke a tackle, and I was going to dive, to try to win the game, and he came out of nowhere and smacked me, bro. Smacked me, knocked the ball out through the back of the end zone. Ended up being a touchback. We lose the ball.
Man.
So instead of getting points, we could have kicked the field goal, but instead we had to turn the ball over, and ultimately ended up losing the game. But um, he was a really active player, 100% effort every play, and we saw it on film earlier that week
Yeah.
too. But I think he actually got a like a rookie minicamp invite to the Saints or something like that, but nothing ever
Oh, he
came.
didn't get drafted?
Nah, he didn't get drafted, bro.
That's crazy.
I never heard from him after that. Matter of fact, we like Facebook friends or something. I know he
Yeah.
didn't get drafted for sure.
Oh man. Okay. Wow. Okay. Man, shout out to Jericho. That's your hands finest.
for sure.
Um,
Number 7.
a lot of great defensive players out of there. Air Reed, Jericho Nelson. All right, number 4. What's the nicest thing a coach has ever done for you?
I wouldn't say nice, but definitely taught me a lesson that I carry with me to this day. And this coach was a great motivator, one of those no nonsense type coaches also. But in the moment, you really didn't understand why he was doing the things that he was doing. But ultimately,
Right.
you might not even understood it while you was part of that team. But later on in life, you understood what those lessons meant. But I have my junior college coach. His name is Steve Campbell. I feel like he taught me some of the best lessons that I ever learned in life. And one of the lessons that stick out to me, he was always a no excuse type of coach. And there was a
Hmm.
situation where he was testing me to see would I make excuses, for my
Hmm.
situation, and I didn't. It sucked, and I was mad. I'm not gonna lie, I was mad that he was doing it to me, but just the type of person I am, I just said whatever, and I had a task to complete, knocked it out, and eventually he later, announced it to the team that essentially he tested me and I passed the test, and basically, was saying, in life everybody has an excuse. So what are excuses worth? Nothing. So you still
Oh,
you still got something. You still gotta complete that job. So
yeah.
that's how I live my life today. Everybody got excuses, man. So but like I said, I do want to recognize the fact that there are some situations where it's just not a viable solution. Anything, but
Mm.
a lot of situations are manageable, and if it is manageable, you need to do whatever in your power to make sure you complete it.
Got it. Man, that's good, man. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. You get done playing ball, right? And you rounded out with the Saints. But you were a rookie starting playing. I got a cup of coffee when I was in Indy. I was there, was able to squeak out some more years. But you were, as a freshman, you were playing. And you had, everybody knows the play, big highlight plays and stuff like this. It looked like out the gate that you might be one of the next. I remember you and Alfred Morris at the time. I was like, man, these brothers, man, they're probably going, they might have crazy careers, right? Just what you all were doing. Talk to me about your NFL experience first, because I know it's different for people such as myself who kind of like, up, down, practice squad, active practice squad for 4 years versus someone who you came out the gate playing. Talk to me about your experience playing.
And I actually didn't want to come out the gate. I wanted to go to a team that had an established running back so I can sit and learn. My ideal situation back then, I was thinking before I got drafted, I wanted to go to the Texans because I used to love how Arian Foster ran, and it's like, man, if I had the opportunity to just like be his backup and learn, until I felt like I was ready. But Indy call, and I was super fortunate to get the call. I don't want to glance over that, but I want to say like week 4 or something like that. Actually, it's funny how I became a starter, because going into camp, I was like 5th string or something like that, because I wasn't a high draft pick. So it's like I'm not. I'm thinking I'm about to be on some same stuff like you, like you said, a cup of coffee. But eventually made the team, but still only a special teams player because we had I would say two or three guys in front of me. I wasn't even taking reps at practice. I was just doing scout team. And one day, Bruce Arians, he stopped me in the hallway. And he asked me, was I learning the playbook? Because I was terrible. I was messing up left and right. It was they put a little bit more on your plate when you make it to the league. But I was like, yeah, I'm learning. He was like, good, you need to learn it because I want to play you a little more. So that week we was playing Green Bay, and Donald Brown, who was the starter at the time, had ended up tearing
Right.
his
From
meniscus.
UConn.
Yeah, yeah, he tore his meniscus. So that thrusted me into the starting position, just like almost overnight. And BA made a joke. He was like, look, I said I wanted to play you more, but I wasn't talking this fast. So I want to say the first game I started was the Jets, and it was after a bye week, and we got I didn't. It was a terrible game. Part of me was nervous, but also I didn't really get to run the ball because we was playing from behind most of the game. But that following game, we played the Browns, I want to say, and I had a pretty good outing. As the season progressed, I just got more comfortable and learned the playbook, and was able to start making some plays. But that year, it was great. It was I couldn't have. I get you can always wish for a better season, but if I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing. But the following year is it's like I went from a high, then it's like, man, I tear my ACL second week of the season, I come back, I tear my Achilles, just got struck with the injury bug, man. And ultimately that's what led to me having to leave the game.
Yeah, but so for someone like you, you finish out New Orleans after having the kind of the track that you were on. Did you ever think like, man, hold on, if I just took a year to get my body right, I can return to that form and come back? Talk to me about where your mind was when you were trying to transition or thinking about transitioning that last year.
Yeah, so I thought my ACL. Well, I would say this: my ACL was a tough injury. Came back, but I was having some Achilles issues, like real bad tendonitis. When I tore my Achilles, I was like, okay, this is the opportunity for it'll get my knee another year to get right, but I could also address those Achilles issues I was having before. So I'm rehab. I'm going hard, man. Like I'm like, okay, this is year two on IR. It's like I got, from a business perspective, also, I know they got to make decisions. So I'm like, I got to come out the gate swinging, right? So I was just happy they even kept me and was giving me an opportunity. So I was like, I got to go hard. I'm talking about, man, I put it into overdrive, and I'm gonna come back to that because like that period in my life, I showed myself a whole different person. Like I showed myself how dedicated I can be to something. And ultimately though, my body wasn't responding the way I wanted it to. And I never got the strength back in my calf muscle. So, if you don't have your strength, you don't have your game. So like I said, ultimately, even when I was in New Orleans, I signed with New Orleans, but I still wasn't there where I needed to be. And even to this day, my strength hasn't came back fully. So I could have took 10 years off and I still wouldn't have been ready. So so ultimately it didn't even matter, man.
So, talk to me real quick about. We're going to touch on that rehab process a little bit later, but you're starting to transition. And just to jump ahead in the story, you end up an engineer at Lockheed Martin. But talk to me about where that came from. Why not get into coaching? Why not get into scouting? Why not take 3 years off to just run around and think about life? What were you processing? Where were you being pulled?
Yeah. So coming out of high school, that's when you start thinking about, at least me. Like I said, I wasn't thinking about NFL. I'm thinking about what I want to do in my life. And I always found myself gravitating toward, mechanical things. It's like, something that challenged my mind, but that I'm working with my hands, but I guess for me, the natural progression would have been some type of engineer. So I was like, oh, I want to be a mechanical engineer. So when I was in junior college, I was actually taking the prerequisites, the math and sciences and things like that to become an engineer. But when I got to Mississippi State, that was like, nah, bro, like we're not doing that over here. It's like, bro, you an athlete. You are a athlete. Like we not nah. That's cool. You want to be an engineer, but you're gonna go take these business classes, or just teaching and coaching something like that. Kinesiology. No disrespect to those majors, but ultimately I chose business, and so whenever I got hurt, I'm having a whole lot of time to think about life and life after football, and that was my reality, potentially because I understood where my body was, and that reality of football not working out was becoming more and more clear every day. So I said in my mind, okay, like once this thing is all over, I'm going back to school to do something that I always wanted to do. So I stopped playing in 2016. So it was like I told myself, if nobody called me, if no one calls in September, by September I'm done. So when that time came, I was like, okay, I'm done, and I started putting plays together, to make sure that I was in school that following fall for engineering.
Wow. And the thing that I think people need to know is you didn't get like a certificate. Like you went and got your master's, man.
No. So actually, no, I went back. It's even crazy. I think even crazier than getting my master's. I went back for a second bachelor's, bro. So I had to start over from the beginning. Like I had to start from like taking prereqs. Like I'm in class with 18, 19 year olds for real. Like so I'm like I'm I went back at 27. I'm in class with a teenager, and I'm like, man, what? Like how what am I doing? Like, bro, think about this. When I was in Indy, to my left, I had Andrew Luck. To my right, it was Reggie Wayne. So it's like these are the people I'm interacting with on a daily. And then I leave from that. and go to a college classroom taking freshman level classes. It messed with me, but I understood that we was all there for the same thing. So I kind of had to block all that out. And ultimately, another thing I was thinking too, it's like, man, I'm 27. I was like, I probably won't be done until I'm like 31 or 32. I'm like, dang, that's a minute. I had to stop thinking about that too, because I was like, look, this is what you want to do with your life. Like that's the route you got to take. Because I couldn't go from business to mechanical engineering masters, because that's a STEM master's in a arts undergrad. So I was like, if I want to be an engineer, this is the route I got to take. So I sucked it up, man, and eventually I turned 32 and I graduated.
Man, I remember, I think we connected on Facebook and you were like, yeah, I'm doing it again. And I kind of thought, I'm going to say this respectfully. I'm like, yo, this guy was a guy in the league. You know what I mean? Like, you had a moment where it was like, yo, Vick Ballard, like, oh yeah, he's a guy. The level of humility to kind of get back and literally do undergrad again.
Undergrad. It was crazy. And I didn't I started I had to take some get up to speed classes. So I'm like, bro, like engineering is like it's calculus and physics. I had never taken physics in my life, never took calculus in my life. I had to take pre-calculus and trigonometry and things like that to get the steam rolling again, to get some momentum. And eventually, when I got through those, I would say that first year, of me going back was all get up to speed, and I needed it. I needed it because I had been out of school for a little minute at that point. But
Same, I already know. You mentioned earlier your rehab taught you more about yourself than you ever knew. I mean, everyone knows to get to the NFL, it takes a certain level of commitment and discipline. What extra did you see in yourself in that rehab process that you think probably helped you, go back and get that undergrad degree before getting your master's again? What do you think you were seeing in that rehab process?
So, like I said, I've always been a hard worker. I looked at myself as a hard worker and been recognized as a hard worker. Whenever the reality was sitting in that, okay, this dream, this opportunity I have is slipping away. I went from level 2 to level 10, and like it feel like overnight because, I had never been so committed to anything in my life. I got to the point where I hated weekends. I used to take naps to try to make the days go by faster so I can go to rehab the next day. It's like I didn't want any type of downtime. It was all work, all grind. It's like I just wanted to stack those good days up because I was like, and then you know how reporters and people like that, the different stories come out and they talk about you like, oh, why they still have? I was out to shame all of them. I couldn't wait. It's like I wanted to stick it to all of them, bro. All of those things combined, like I said, I took my grind to a whole new level, and but ultimately, and this was a life lesson too. It didn't work out, and I saw that. I guess what I learned from that was, just because you give something your all, that don't mean it's gonna work out. It was a tough pill to swallow, but in the same breath, I was like, man, okay, that didn't work out. Maybe that wasn't for me. But there are other things in life that are for me, and if I give those things the amount of attention and hard work that I gave this last thing, there's no telling where I might end up in life. So that, like I said, that gave me the motivation to go back to school for engineering because I was like, okay, in my last occupation, I just ran out of time. You know what I'm saying? My body wasn't working right. I ran out of time. But with something like engineering, it's like I ain't got no kids. I got all the time in the world. I got a little money saved up. My well being straight. It's all about how bad do I want it. So, like I said, I took that mindset and started crushing some engineering classes, man.
So you finish, you go back, you do the whole thing at UCL. You did it 4 years. You really did the whole thing again. Why why the masters? Why not just say, you know what? All right, I proved it to myself. 4 years is a long time. Why the master?
I mean, I feel like you can probably get some type of understanding of who I am as a person. Like I'm an ambitious person, so I never had any thoughts past mechanical engineering. But once I reached that summit, the inevitable question came of what's next. So I got an email in my at work talking about this dual master's program at University of Florida, and with the NFLPA or the trust rather, they give out scholarships, to go back. So I was like, I got time. I got somebody willing to give me money. Why not? so boom, less than less than a year later, I'm back in the classroom again, getting my master's in engineering, and ultimately, so like I said, like I mentioned, it's a dual master's program. So the second part of that program is an MBA. So I'll be done with the engineering in 2025, and like 12 months later, I'll have an MBA. So yeah, that's my goal
Any
right now.
any thoughts? Do you ever sit back and say like, man, what if I just stayed? Like, how often does that run across your mind? For me, it was kind of clear, right? Like, it was like I could think about all the what ifs if you want. It was like, I never really had enough moments to say like, hey, I know for a fact that I missed out on blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? You, on the other hand, like not to bring it up again so much, but you were kind of on that trajectory. How often did you think about going back to doing something you already knew in football while you were pursuing the engineering thing?
I guess for me, that's kind of a loaded question because, like I said, I already had interest in being an engineer, but also I felt like becoming a coach, becoming a personal trainer, that's what they expect you to do anyway. Part of me didn't want to play into that stereotype. Part of me wanted to say, look, okay, that's like football is what I did, but it's not who I am. It's more to me as a person. Now I want to show that, okay, I'm gifted athletically, but I'm also gifted intellectually, you know?
Mm,
So it's like I didn't want to get put in a box, and I thought about that a lot because I could have, once you make it to the NFL, you make a lot of connections in the football world. So it's without a doubt I could have landed a coaching job somewhere easily. But
easy.
like I said, it was a lot of different things that went into me saying no, I'm not going to go the route that a lot of people want me to go anyway, and that they expect me to go because of what they think I am or who I am. I'm going to go without in a direction I feel like is more natural to me. Like I said, that was the engineering route.
So you're at Lockheed right now. Help us understand, for those who don't know, what does it mean to be, and it means a lot of different things, but more specifically to your role, what does it mean to be an engineer at Lockheed? What are you doing? What are you looking at? What's going on there?
So Lockheed Martin is probably one of the biggest defense contractors in the world. Honestly,
Period. Yeah.
we supply different things to our military and different allied militaries across the world. It's a publicly traded company, so it's a company of pretty substantial size. And to get an opportunity I would say that in the engineering world for college kids aspiring to be engineers, the companies like Lockheed, SpaceX, Northrop Grumman, like those type of any job where you have to have a security clearance, it's like those are the jobs that a lot of people shoot for. So for me, fortunately, I guess my manager thought well enough for me to give me an opportunity to work for Lockheed, and it's been cool, man. I work with a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, I got a secret clearance, so
Got you.
yeah, I don't
Got
want
you.
to.
I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. So for someone who's thinking about engineering, you mentioned calculus and stuff like that. What do you think is the hardest part about being an engineer in school? And like what was there a class? Was there a phase in your academic journey? You're still going through it right now, but was there a class where you were like, man, this might be it for me? You know?
Honestly, bro, you know how they say you have weed out classes
Mm.
for different majors. I felt like at every step of the way they said, "Oh, this is a weed out class. Oh, this is a weed out." And I'm like, man, are all these classes weed out classes? And they are, bro. Like it's no easy classes, per se in engineering. It's like you just kind of get used to the level of
It being
difficulty.
tough. Yeah.
You get used to the type of effort you got to put in order to be successful, man. It's pretty tough. It's straight problem solving. It's nothing. It's all numbers, like all numbers and problem solving. It's like nothing but word problems. Honestly, I remember toward the end of my when I was a senior, well, getting ready to put my schedule together my senior year, I was looking for classes where I didn't have to do math. It's like I hate English. I hate English. But I was like, man, let me write a paper. Like I just want to write. Like I'm tired of doing math problems. Everything was math.
um, and one thing I want to touch on here is when I think of engineers, I used to work at 3M, so I think about like all right, Lean Six Sigma, like black belt training, Kaizen, all these types of things. When you started, I always say football does a great job of anchoring us in like a system or format, right? Like if you ask either one of us, what does a practice look like? We can run through the practice already. everything but the script itself. And if you told us enough what the situation was, we might could write the script. How did you create your process academically to kind of take it on? Because if you're kind of just studying when you feel like it most, or if you're just studying hard without a plan, you're not going to be successful, right? You're not going to be able to get the degree undergrad and pursue it in a business school setting. How'd you develop that? I see you smiling.
Yeah, it's I say that, well, I'm smiling because what I learned about myself, I feel like everybody has their own style of learning. But for me personally, I only go to class to listen. I don't write notes. I just listen because I found that if I'm trying to listen and write notes at the same time, I miss. So I was like, this is what I'm
Mm,
gonna do. I'm gonna listen in class,
right.
and because a lot of times I retain information for a while, and I would listen in class and I'll go do my homework, and that would reinforce the information that I learned in class. That's how I would learn, and I would take notes whenever I would do my homework. So that's what helped me. Like I said, I learned, for me that was the best way for me to get through class. And I remember I had met a good buddy of mine, and this before we became friends. We took the same class, and so in engineering, or at least at UCF, there wasn't a lot of black engineering students, black males anyway. So it was me and him were the only two in like a 200-person class, one of those auditorium type classes. And
In Florida.
yeah, and
Wow.
he used to look at me and say, "Man, look at this guy, man!" Like making us look bad, like because I would come in without a book bag, no pencil, no nothing. What I'm just there. But he
Yeah.
didn't understand, like, okay, this is how I learn. But
Right.
whenever we would meet up for study groups, I would be the one leading the study group. So they just, but I
Mm.
had to tell them, like, oh, this is just my process.
What's funny? I think about, like with ball, and you and I know this. It's like, man, look, you can write all the notes you want when you're doing the install until you get out there, until you can't feel it. Like you can think, but hey, which side adjust them when they move over, when the formation changes, if they switch the formation to the boundary, whatever, all the different components. Until you get out there and test it. So in the same way for you, it feels like you're digesting information. You know it conceptually, but until you do the homework, that's what really cements it and reinforces it. Is that the right way to think
Man,
about
that's
it?
the perfect way to explain it, because there's layers to it. Because, like I said, I learn it, and I think I might understand it when I'm learning it, and then when I go do my homework, I start to get a feel for it, and I was like, oh, it's actually not what I was thinking in class. It's more like this. But then
Right.
you got another layer of how it actually works in the real world. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So it's a
right.
lot of layers to it, and the only reason I bring that up is because it kind of worked out perfectly that I'm like a car guy. I like working on cars and things like that. So I was taking classes on the things that I was doing on my car. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So I would be able to learn some theory in class and then go see how it's applied on my car.
got it. Oh, that's fire. That's fire. Okay, Vic, I gotta put you in this situation. Now, you gotta talk to the people by sharing your story. If there was one thing that, not necessarily the most important thing or the best thing, but there's one thing that comes top of mind when I say, what didn't you know coming out of college that you think best prepared you for life now, transitioning, getting to the NFL? If there's one thing you didn't know that you wish you knew, what would that be?
Everything is a time investment. So
Mm,
whatever you do today, that's what your tomorrow is going to look like. So if you are, I don't know, sitting on the couch watching a Netflix series every day, tomorrow you're probably going to be sitting on the couch. Your life is going to look the exact same as it did yesterday, and like all of your conversation is going to be centered around a new Netflix show. And not knocking that, not I mean, obviously Netflix is a thing for a reason, but if you're a person that say you want a different life, you don't like how your life looks currently. Can't be sitting on the couch watching Netflix all day. You gotta, like I said, whatever you want your life to look like tomorrow, that's
yeah.
what you need to do today.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, Vic, I really appreciate you joining, man. I know you have a lot going on, but I know some folks might want to reach out to you. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, man?
LinkedIn, you can just type in my name, or Instagram. It's my name also, Vick Ballard. Not really on that a whole lot. I got Twitter too, which is Vick Ballard. I'm not really on social media a whole lot, but
Yeah.
I do still have them. So I'll check them, periodically. But yeah, that's definitely the easiest way.
No doubt. Vick Ballard, man. I know you're probably mad at me, man. I've been taking notes this whole time, but
Nah, do your
that's
thing,
just
man.
my learning style.
Do
I
your thing.
I appreciate you joining the pod, man. We got to get you once you graduate. We might have to. Not might have to. We're gonna need to do a follow up, man. So I appreciate you, brother. Have a good day. I'll check in with you soon, man. Thank you so much for joining the pod, man.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you having me.